Now, would you believe me if I told you that most people have investing in crypto completely around the wrong way? You see, what they try to do is take traditional finance and research methods and then apply that to crypto, where ultimately dumb money, degens, dictate what projects are going to do well and what narratives at that will do well, hence why we have meme coins as such a strong part of the industry. And yet this is not what people recognize. They don't seem to realize that we don't have to look at how much the developer growth is over the last month or how important the fee structure is and all this extra stuff that it is important if you want to fine tune things, but not at face value. And ultimately, that's why I've made this video, not to pick 5 random altcoins because the developers grew 25% in the last 7 days. I'm picking these 5 altcoins because it's where a large amount of demand will come. And I know this because, as we'll see in a second, all of the charts based on overall narrative growth are saying that this is where the dumb money wants to buy. And so, guys, you're going to learn a lot, not just about these 5 projects, but also about this narrative as well. Now, please, if you do enjoy the content and learn something new, drop a like on the video, but importantly, subscribe so you can achieve your crypto goals. Now, for some of you, you're probably thinking to yourself, this guy's talking in riddles. Why has he chosen these 5 projects? Well, they're all built around powerful narrative. A narrative is what a project is primarily known for. And this is what you have to get your head around for crypto. It's what I teach because, again, this is where money flows into. Projects just don't pop up out of the blue and have their all-time high, right? Because they have 10% developers pop up on the week or because there was a huge announcement. They have their all-time highs and their big blow off top when the other projects known for that specific thing pop off as well, aka their narrative. For example, of course, Chainlink is known for an Oracle, Hedera is known for a layer 1, Compound is known as for DeFi, Chainlink, interoperability, of course, Helium is gaming. These are their narratives. Now, projects can have multiple primary narratives, which is what I want to show you here in a minute, but all I'm trying to introduce into, you know, those of you who haven't been around and known to my research is that they always have their all-time high together with those specific projects. You can see Bitcoin peaking over here at all-time high, and yet Chainlink and other Oracle projects had their all-time high way back over here, 6 months earlier. If you were trying to sell with Bitcoin, you would have sold Chainlink way down here, missed out on so much more profits, and that's the same for every other project. Layer 1s had theirs around the same time as Bitcoin. DeFi had their peak over here, the earliest so far on this list. We have interoperability protocols like Quant having it just before Bitcoin, but again, all slightly separated from the other narratives we've so far spoken about, and gaming was the last to pump. Gaming actually pumped like a couple months or a month and a half after Bitcoin's all-time high, and these were all separated between 9 months. April to December, these 5 narratives were separated, okay? 9 months in the last bull run. So this is why you have to recognize projects don't have their all-time high because some crazy statistic metric or because of some news. They have their all-time high with other projects because all the money, like the dumb money, flocks to those sort of projects. Here's a primary example for those who are a little bit confused. Again, if we kind of hone into just DeFi here, you know, talking about Compound a second ago, again, all DeFi projects pumped together, right? Bitcoin, again, had its all-time high over here. Yes, they can pump from individual, you know, news and updates and really good exchange listings, but they never have their all-time high apart from together. And so this is why it's so important for you guys to be subscribed, because you won't hear this anywhere else. No one puts the amount of hours into the market as I do, and that's something I'm very, very proud of. But this is some of the things that I've kind of conducted and built upon, you know, based on my research, is which projects or narratives are going to pump the most in the bull run. I've got a list right from the highest demand narratives right through to what I believe will be the weakest, and this is obviously subject to change as we get more data. And as we'll see in a second, we're going to look here at specifically DePIN projects today. DePIN is a 10 out of 10 narrative, and the projects I am choosing today are looking to hit more than just DePIN. They're going to hit multiple of these 10s, 9s, and 8s, which is really where I'm trying to focus my own portfolio on as well. Because if you can hit or find a project that hits multiple of these narratives, you're going to have more of a chance, will they have more of these blow off top moments, or overall have more money invested. That means on their main big pump, they're going to pump a lot harder than a project in which you might find that only hits one specific narrative. And so again, we're focusing today on DePIN, and this is a chart that came out, I believe, from Cointelegraph, and the last 3 months of performance based on narratives, right? And you can see DePIN wasn't mentioned in this list whatsoever. So it was interesting because DePIN, if we have a look at some of these charts here, is the most powerful narrative of the bull run thus far. This chart goes back, you can't quite see, my desk is kind of cutting it off, since February 2023, and DePIN projects in this blue line far exceed that of layer 1 projects over here, and layer 2 projects, which we saw a second ago, was actually ranked number 1, okay? So this obviously didn't take into consideration DePIN, but in this case, when we actually do that, it far exceeds these. You know, even layer 1s were 67% up overall since the start of 2023, so 12 months ago, and these guys are over double that, okay? Almost triple. All right, it's incredible. If we now compare this to the likes of, you know, AI and gaming, it also beats this. Now, I must say, some of these, as we'll see in a second, these DePIN projects also hit AI, so I had to be very careful not to double up on the AI projects here. But fundamentally, you know, DePIN projects, whether they hit AI, gaming, and all the rest of it, they are the most powerful, and that's what we've gotten out of the bull run so far. So again, if you are someone kind of thinking to yourself, well, what's DePIN? I need to be really considering this as an opportunity here for maybe 1, 2, or 3 of my new projects for my portfolio, then yes, I most definitely would. DePIN is decentralized physical infrastructure projects, aka projects that use crypto incentives to efficiently coordinate the build out of operation of critical infrastructure. So physical infrastructure networks, it can be anything used in the real world or Web 2 world, okay? So it's like things like wireless compute, AI, energy, sensors, and services. And this was a report here from Masari. They actually conducted this experiment, and it was quite interesting because DePIN is a massive industry, but there is a lot of room to grow, which is why I believe these projects are fantastic picks. Of course, not financial advice. DePIN's flywheel is powerful enough to add another 10 trillion to global GDP over the next decade and 100 trillion in the decade after that. So while that's not the next 2 years, we have to recognize that these DePIN projects are growing in the real world just as much as they are in crypto. And when you have these two sort of worlds come together, that creates, you know, one of the most powerful areas of crypto, hence why AI is popping off as well, because of course it merges these two worlds. I've picked again 5 of these projects from different areas of the DePIN category to be as diversified as possible. Now, the first project today is called Aethir. Now, Aethir actually hasn't had their token launch yet. It's one that I'm really interested in. A couple of you guys recommended this to me privately in the private community. Go figure. And this is kind of a competitor to Render, right? Distributed cloud and infrastructure specifically for gaming and AI. A lot of these, you know, big distributed physical infrastructure projects or AI projects that we all know and love in crypto, I'm not going to name names here, they can't handle AI as it's growing. AI is likely to, you know, consume most of the world's computational resources, storage, rendering, you know, CPU, all that sort of stuff. It's being absorbed because ultimately it's not powerful enough. A lot of people want to use it, and AI as a large language model is growing to the point of it's using up so many resources. And so these guys are looking to make it scalable for enterprise use and also public use as well. They have 200,000 users, 23 node locations. Importantly, it's very somewhat centralized, but they haven't even launched their token yet, so they can't incentivize regular people to come on board. And this is all basically right now scalable on the enterprise level. So it's doing things differently from what I understand to the likes of Render, who focus primarily to bring on, you know, average people with regular GPUs and, you know, allow them to come on and, you know, offer that to the network. Well, these guys are focusing on, first of all, scaling to enterprises and then, of course, building out their decentralized network from there. So again, no current tokens. So these guys haven't released, but they are looking to release, as we'll see here in a second, this year. So stay tuned on the channel, guys. I'm looking to do a deep review on this project because it's very interesting, especially in the gaming and AI space. And as I mentioned, you know, some of these projects will overlap into multiple of these high-performing narratives. Obviously, DePIN, AI, gaming, and cloud infrastructure as well. So 4 narratives, and that gives us a score of 39 out of 40, which is very impressive. Most high-end projects that hit multiple, you know, good narratives will hit about 3, between a 9 and a 10, and the top echelon projects will hit 4 top narratives. So this definitely fits into that category, at least according to my research methods, which seems to be proving pretty well good for now. Now, they do have multiple different services from what I understand. Aethir Earth is one of them. But what I want to point out here is this, right? They're basically focusing, again, on enterprise adoption, and that will come with these microchips over here, these GPUs, right? They're called H100s by NVIDIA. They actually, as we'll see in a second here, do have or have been accepted into NVIDIA's Inception program, just like another project on today's list. But because they've onboarded thousands of these H100 GPUs, which, by the way, are going for anywhere between $20,000 to $30,000 on NVIDIA's website and about $40,000 on eBay, because they're focusing on that, they're allowed to build out this large language model, scalable model for these enterprises, okay? Also, again, they are focused heavily on the gaming space, which is pretty important. And as we'll see in a minute, they have some pretty deep connections already. Now, again, these H100 chips are very sought after. And the reason why is because with the prevalence of AI, it's the most powerful GPU on the market, designed specifically for AI applications. And apparently, other projects out there like Render, Akash, as we'll see in a minute here, they don't actually have these chips on their network. So they can't scale to the degree Aether is looking to immediately grow at. Pretty important. Mark Zuckerberg actually bought a whole bunch of these 350,000 units for his projects, right? So obviously he's spent multi-billions trying to acquire these things for a reason. And as I mentioned, they've also joined NVIDIA's Inception program, which of course will allow them to bring on board all of these smart folks over at NVIDIA, allowing them to fast track their growth. And it also gives them access to these NVIDIA events, which of course will allow them to network and possibly even bootstrap their network even more than it currently is. Our next project is Helium. Now, I know you guys can't really see it very much, but Helium, HNT is the ticker, 1.6 billion market cap. Chances are you've heard of these guys. They have kind of pushed themselves away from just being a network focused on decentralized cellular and also now focusing on IoT, which I think is a massive shift for the network. And I believe it's really good. As we'll see in a minute here, but they've got some really big partners already in the work. So Helium is a global distributed network of hotspots that create public long-range wireless coverage of Internet of Things and mobile devices. They hit 6 narratives, of course, DePIN, big data, cloud infrastructure, X to earn. So of course, if you buy one of these hotspots, you can pretty much hotspot to earn, if you will. And lastly, of course, IoT and supply chain. To a degree, supply chain fits in there. So 45 out of 60, 6 narratives, mostly in the top here, 8 out of 8 and 10s are what we're sort of looking for in this case. So it's really, really good to see. But that's not the be all and end all. They kind of are the only ones doing this in the whole of crypto. Hence, that meme of being so unique is even more prominent in Helium. So what uses the network? This is interesting, right? So who is pretty much building on Helium? Well, there is a lot of, since the last time I checked, mind you, I was going to buy 3 of these way back in 2021 when they had a lot less demand, these hotspots, right? And since I've come back on here and had a deep look, I mean, this is almost endless. There are so many people building on here. I think primarily you have IoT companies, or at least, small businesses using this to a degree, because if you can leverage IoT, Internet of Things, which allows pretty much you to connect and observe data from things like monitors, computers, smartwatches, phones, air conditioners, anything that has Bluetooth or connection to the internet, you can pretty much track all that data and then spit it out and, for businesses to purchase to pretty much optimize their products. And yeah, most of these businesses seem to be IoT related, but a massive partner recently here, Telefonica, has partnered with them. Now, Telefonica, as this mentioned, is one of the largest telecommunication service providers. They're looking to roll out a whole bunch of mobile hotspots in collaboration with Helium and also Nova Labs. Okay, so this is some really, really big stuff because they have 383 million customers and operates in Europe and Latin America. Guys, they're worth $20 billion and are publicly traded. This is massive. Again, this came out on the 25th of January. So, well, actually, we're mid-February right now. So that happened about 3 weeks ago, but still very new. And do not forget, they had actually a partnership with the Dish to allow a similar thing to happen way back in 2021. So need I have to say more? Now, again, since I last checked, they have a whole bunch more of hotspot providers. These are all third parties, right? These are a whole bunch of companies looking to create these little hotspots to allow you to purchase, to of course use and connect to the Helium network to earn these tokens, these HNT tokens, supporting a global infrastructure. And we can see here that most of them are IoT related. Some of them are IoT and mobile. I guess if you want most bang for your buck, you want to kind of buy one that is a combination of the two. Click purchase, and of course, off you go. They are kind of expensive, I think, averaging around about $300 to $400 per unit. That's, of course, in US. Now, we can see here some of the network stats is pretty insane. We have 390,000 IoT hotspots and almost 11,000 mobile hotspots, and the map looks kind of nutty. Again, very, very new, right? The network's only 2 billion market cap, so small in comparison to the grand scheme of things here. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Starlink map. Of course, there's a lot more Starlink satellites by the look of it, at least, but, you know, a lot of IoT hotspots out there. So guys, this could be massive, a massive unlock, at least not just for us, but also huge for businesses looking to scale to the next level, at least in ways we've never seen before. Now, the next project here is Akash network. You've likely heard of Akash. Current market cap $800 million, so not the largest or the smallest on today's list, right in the middle here. And as we can see, in the last 12 months, it has been pumping a little bit too hard for me to want to get in, at least at this price. But you don't know what Akash is, do your research. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it today, and let me know down below if you want a deep dive, because this is one of the projects I really do want to jump into more. The world's most premier decentralized compute marketplace. So what is it? The Akash network is often referred to as the Airbnb for cloud services, providing a platform where users can securely and efficiently buy or sell computing resources in a decentralized manner. So I don't really know if you realize this or not, but of course we have all these different services for AI, for storage, all these distributed awesome things, but yet we don't really have a marketplace where someone looking to leverage this can kind of universally go and plug and play whatever they might need, of course, for their thing, whether it's a website, a node, whatever it might be, okay? They can run these things and pick their service provider, essentially, and that is what Akash basically is, as they said, Airbnb. Now, they hit 4 narratives. I had to change that a second ago. AI, DePIN, layer 1, technically they are a layer 1 network, and also big data. So 40 out of 40, of course, top echelon. So allow me to tell you a little bit more about Akash. So traditionally with these service providers like Amazon and Google Cloud and all that sort of stuff, Microsoft Azure, you have them centrally controlling all the services, all the products that they offer to people. And of course, as the end user, whether you're a large scale enterprise or whether you're a small Joe looking to create a simple website, you have to, of course, hook up to them and leverage them. Actually, at one point in time, Ethereum was pretty well leveraging AWS, so the Amazon Web Service, for like 40% of all the nodes on the network. So basically, Amazon had its fingers around Ethereum. And so now we can have a product like Akash that offers all of this just in a marketplace. It's a bizarre, right? It says, hey, we're going to hook up all these people, like essentially the Airbnb, right? We're going to offer all these people that have houses to rent out, and we have all the people wanting to stay at places for a lot cheaper than hotels. And we're going to create a marketplace for all you guys to, kind of mesh together. And that is what Akash, again, is, without going into a whole bunch of detail. Now, their ecosystem is quite big considering the size of it. Akash has about 44 ecosystem projects currently built on the network, which is, again, pretty considerable for a project that is quite small relative to, the general market. And in terms of nodes, it has about 75 or actually 76 providers. That must have went down since I started the video. So not too bad, but where this kind of really blows my mind is when you start looking into the charts, right? All the stats on the network. And by the way, I love the interface. Well done, Akash. This is insane. The active leases recently spiked from about 600 near its peak of, about 700, way up to 2,000. Look at that massive growth. Okay, so this is pretty much people using some part of the network. So there's 2,040 people or businesses or entities leveraging a service on Akash. And that's not just the same or an isolated case just for the leases. Everything on the website has recently skyrocketed. Storage, memory, graphics, compute. Like if I just open one of these, they all look like that. They all look insane. So growth is absolutely phenomenal right now. All right, so it's obviously a very, very big up here for Akash, and that gives me a good indication that, hey, we're not just focusing on the degens here. Like I said in the introduction, you don't really want to leverage this as the be-all and end-all, but you can't deny when a project itself has had this much growth that something isn't happening on the back end. They've obviously had some pretty big upgrades, announcements, partners, the list goes on. So with that said, definitely stand by Akash. Project number 4 is Hivemapper, the smallest on today's list by a sliver, and it's currently about trading at 20 cents. And as you can see here, it in the bear market was 20x cheaper than what it is today. I had a friend, Rich, shout out to Rich, was telling me to buy Hivemapper back then, and I disregarded him, admittedly. Sorry, Rich. And I really wish I didn't, because I would have at least 20x at some point from these guys. Now, they're looking to pretty much map the world, right? They're trying to pretty much become Apple Maps, Google Maps. You can kind of essentially think about it like Helium, but instead of, IoT and cellular networks, they're looking to pretty much map the world, roads, which is of course good, because that's going to allow, constant data feeds, which not just, of course, hey, I'm going to look at my phone how to get somewhere. It also allows us to look at things like traffic jams and all that in a, of course, decentralized way. So Hivemapper created and updates a global map similar again to Google or Apple Maps for participants and from participants using a dash cam to take images of the world while they drive. Now, this is the current map. They have 131 million kilometers mapped right now. You can see unique kilometers mapped. There's about 8 million. So, of course, as people drive around with these, they're going to remap certain places. Hence why they can, of course, have live updates on, road performance and traffic jams and things like that. 50,000 contributors in 2,500 regions and 13 million transactions. Keep in mind how small this project is, guys. 166 million market cap. Now, there's two types of dash cams. Of course, the dash cams help prevent people from hitting you and claiming something that didn't obviously happen. So they're a dash cam, but again, also track the world. So it's got a bit of a duality there. That's why they can kind of ship this out. The first one's $300. You can buy a more expensive one over here to, of course, have a better camera, basically, right? But it's not that in itself. It's what you can do with this if you're an entrepreneur. If you're someone who, again, spots a potential opportunity early, like we are right now, and looks to leverage it, like this document from Hivemapper themselves. About a month ago, they published this, how to build a Hivemapper fleet and recruit drivers. So what they're pretty well saying here is you can take a whole bunch of like Uber and Lyft drivers and convince them to just install one of these. You give them a bit of a kickback, and as they go, they of course allow you to make to grab Hivemapper tokens, but also, of course, participate in the network, which is fantastic. Like this guy in this example here, he has grown to 55 drivers across 15 different cities, okay? So he's getting, of course, more. So this guy is making a business out of this. And how good would that be? Just sit back, relax, and make money from Hivemapper, especially if you were someone doing this back down here, you would have 20x'd. That's the whole beauty of it, right? If you do this now, even in the next 1.5 years, you might actually make a 30 or 40x on all the money you're currently making. That's just an idea, right? They're also, of course, incorporating things like AI into it to allow, of course, as it's tracking, it can pretty well do what Tesla cars do for the global Tesla network and train this AI to do different things, which they can, of course, go ahead and sell at a premium for businesses wanting to leverage it. I mean, the opportunities here are endless, not just for Hivemapper and for us as investors and, stakeholders in the network, but also, of course, as people like us wanting to use the network. So Hivemapper has made it to this list. I think they definitely deserve it. If we have a look at the narratives, they hit 3, but keep in mind, again, it's the premise. No one else is doing this really in crypto. It's the meme. DePIN, big data, and of course, X to earn. In this case, taxi, Uber, limo driver to earn, right? So you can do that and earn even more. Or of course, create your own fleet, right? So you can, maybe even do this for if you're someone who owns a car company that leases out these vehicles. You can put one of these in each car and get even more money back. As simple as that. And our last project on this list, this shouldn't be a shocker to anyone who's been on the channel long enough, right? Flux is one of my favorite projects for DePIN, for AI, for storage. You will see this is a true powerhouse project in just a second. 224 million market cap. This project consistently ranks a 50x or more on my tier list ranking videos. And where do I really begin with this? It does everything in a distributed way. If you can think of running nodes, running your own website, right? They've actually partnered with WebAssembly to allow people to build their websites entirely on Flux. They allow deep connections with other crypto networks. So it's not just DePIN, it's also interoperability as well. I mean, guys, I would highly suggest you check out Flux. Now, this is my Twitter, and I suggest if you made it this far in a video to follow me on Twitter, because I do talk about projects like DePIN, AI, and all that sort of stuff, like Render, quite a fair bit. It's where all the alpha basically is. Now, again, what is Flux? Well, again, it's just trustless data for Web3 applications. And Web3 isn't crypto. Don't think crypto. Think the new evolution of the internet. Think about running the whole internet in a decentralized, distributed way. That's what Flux essentially enables. And it does so in the most kick-ass way possible. It runs proof of work, but yet it's not like Bitcoin where eventually you get to a point where ASIC miners run rampant, which of course are miners that are specifically created and end up being $30,000 each, designed to run the network, right? Anyone can run the network, but it's completely carbon neutral at that, unlike Bitcoin, of course. So it's good for the environment, right? They're looking to become net carbon zero, as I said, ASIC resistant. But this is where it's really interesting. They have a concept that they created, right, called proof of useful work, in which all the extra computations that go into a proof of work network, right, only one person wins the rights to mine a block. Everyone else, all that energy created to fight for that chance, it's all kaput, it's wasted. But they take all that and they say, well, hang on a second, let's use that for good. And let's use it to go for things like AI, training models, use it to render different things, okay? Put it to work, all right? That's proof of useful work. It makes total sense when you think about it. Revolutionary tech for Flux. I think actually ICP stole that. Again, they're looking to become a Web3 cloud in general. Truly, not just like Akash, which offers services for people who want to plug in, like similar to AWS. What they actually do is run all the infrastructure themselves as well. Things like storage and a whole lot. Does it all, right? I can be here forever and talk about it. Maybe the narratives might give you a better example. Interoperability, AI, DePIN, Web3 layer 1, big data, cloud infrastructure, storage, proof of work. 8 narratives, almost a perfect score. I mean, this is most definitely an underappreciated gem, especially in the DePIN space itself. Again, just like Aether, they are also in the NVIDIA Inception program, have been for a long time. They're partnered with one of the largest cloud leaders in Europe, OVH Cloud, and also their roadmap this year is looking to incorporate the proof of useful work for their Titan 2 node, which is a node specifically built for enterprise adoption. So I don't think we've seen anything yet. I think they're still ramping up and they have like, I think 30 or 40,000 nodes already on the network. So, I mean, check out Flux. I've got a fair few deep dives on that project as well. But I want to know, let me know down below, which one of these 5 projects do you like the most? And I will tally up the votes and likely either do a community post on this or just simply go ahead based on what you say down below and do a dedicated video for whatever one wins. With that said, thank you so much for making it this far through. And if you have, appreciate my work by dropping a like on the video and I will talk to you all very soon. Take care.